Welcome to Bassmaster Radio, presented by Phonix Boats, the show for fishermen by fishermen. Today's show is brought to you by Enigma Fishing. Cast, catch, repeat. Visit Anderson, South Carolina, home of beautiful Lake Hartwell. Phonix Boats, experience the difference. And by the Bass Anglers Sportsman Society. Now, here's lifetime BASS member, Thom Abraham.
Now, welcome back. Phonix Boats Bassmaster Radio. Now time for the Rapala Winner's Circle. And the guy in the Winner's Circle, well, you've seen the commercials for Express Boats. He says unfinished business. Well, it is unfinished business, but he finished some of it. I mean, he has gone ahead and got himself his first win since coming back to the Bassmaster Elite Tour, and he did it in the fourth event, did it at the Sabine River in a tough event, and he joins us now, Jason Christie, who was with us not too long ago. Jason, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm really, really good. How are you guys?
Well, fantastic. And, yeah, I mean, you got to do the winner's circle stuff. So, who knows? Maybe you'll be on 2 or 3 times this year. You don't know, right? That could be good.
That's kind of what I'm hoping for. I'd like to do it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, that would be good. Let's talk about this.
I'm sure there's 98 other guys, though, that probably wouldn't let that happen.
Well, they'll try not to let that happen. There certainly wasn't 98 other guys around you when you were doing what you were doing. I mean, you went a long way to kind of get away from the crowd, and I know that's something that you kind of like to do. You don't really like fishing around other people. Is that true, or is that a misnomer?
No, I don't want to see a single person all day when I'm fishing. If I can choose that.
Yeah, and
some places we can't. You can't get away from people, but the Sabine it's tough to do that. But I was fortunate enough to get away from most of them and find an area that I kind of had to myself.
Yeah, you did kind of have it to yourself, and you were going old school with it too, with a lot of spinnerbait. It was kind of interesting to see. Brock Mosley was throwing a lot of bladed jig, and a lot of people think of the bladed jig and the spinnerbait as the same thing, but they're not. Talk about why the spinnerbait for you and why that was so productive for you up in that area that you were in.
Well, I had an area that had a lot to offer. It had cut banks, it had logs, it had dirty water, trees. And that spinnerbait, I can just control the depth. I mean, I might make one cast, to a cut bank, but I need to fish it a little deeper, kind of slow roll it, and then the next cast come down a log. So it's just a bait that I can control, and those fish in the area that I was fishing hadn't seen a lot of bait, and they were biting, and that's a bait that I'm really comfortable when it's in my hand, and I feel like it catches above average fish. So, the main thing is I can control the depth of the bait.
Yeah, and you showed your versatility, too, with this win because, I mean, you're an Oklahoma guy who has, won up at Lake St. Clair, and now you've won at the Sabine. That's pretty much about as far away as you can go from north to south. It's got to be a big boost for your confidence to be able to get a win like that and just show that you can win on so many different kinds of water.
Yeah, that is a long ways. I just now thought about that. Then you throw South Carolina in there. That's a pretty big triangle. I just need to get me a win in New York and Florida, and I think we'll be good. We'll have all 4 corners covered.
You probably wouldn't mind getting another win in Texas with you guys going over to Lake Fork, and what a totally different deal that is. We just talked to Seth Thider, and he said he was going to stay in Texas in between the 2 events and then realized that nothing he had in the boat for the Sabine was going to be any good for Fork, so he went all the way back to Minnesota to reload the boat. It's not as far a run, though, for you.
No, I'm only 4 hours away, and I really am looking forward to this event. Lake Fork is a lake that all of the events I've fished there, doesn't matter if it's in the summer, fishing deep, or spring, or whatever. I've kind of always clicked with the lake, so I'm looking forward to this. It is going to be crowded. I mean, most of the events I've fished there have been 40 to 50 guys with the TTBC and the BP Tour and all that kind of stuff. This is going to be a full field. It's springtime. There's a lot of people down there probably vacation fishing, so it will be crowded.
It will be maybe not quite as bad as it could have been if it was in May where it has been in the past. Have you fished it this time of year before? Because this is maybe earlier than we've seen any of the major events at Lake Fork.
Well, the BBT tour was there last year, I think a couple of weeks earlier, and the first day I was there, I caught a 9 and a 10. So on the first day of the tournament, so there's just something about that lake, and I may do terrible this event, but there's some lakes on the schedule that you just you look forward to. It's kind of like going and seeing your favorite cousin, and I enjoy going down there.
Yeah, let's go to, you mentioned that you may do terrible. I doubt that you would do terrible, but this has been kind of a weird season for you. 4 tournaments in, you are in 4th place in the Angler of the Year standings, but you were, fishing championship day in Knoxville, final day guy there. I think you finished 5th or so, win this one, and the other one's down a little bit further on the list. You made the cut, the 3rd day cut, but it's almost been a little bit of all or nothing for you.
Yeah, and you know what? The event that I did not so good in Florida was the event after practice that, I found an area that I really thought was going to be dynamite. And it was kind of like the area that I won in Sabine. It was a really long ways off. It was isolated, and John Cox shows up, and, if you're in Florida and John Cox is fishing around you, you're probably in a pretty good area. And neither one of us caught him real good. And both of us agreed that after practice, we really, really thought it was going to go down in there, and it just didn't. So, that happens sometimes. You have a good practice and the tournament don't go so good. And sometimes you have a terrible practice and things work out. So you just never know.
Jason Christie with us, coming off his win at the Sabine River. Let's go back to that for a moment, the Sabine. This spot was so random and so remote. Now, you're a veteran. You've been around for a minute. Did you know about this before? Because I don't know. How do you stumble across something like that?
Well, going there's 2 things I wanted to do. I wanted to get away from the salt water, and I wanted to get away from other anglers. And I had actually been in that creek before. The last time the Elite Series was there, I practiced in that creek a little bit, and I got some bites, but a lot of them were small. And it was just one of those where I was just kind of eliminating water and went in there and started getting some bites and got some good bites in practice, and pretty much decided that that's where I was going to fish. It was weird because the fish in this creek were pre-spawn, and everything else that I was catching in other areas was post-spawn. I think it was due to the current in the river and the current in the creek. But, anytime I can fish for pre-spawn over post-spawn, I'm going to. They're just more predictable. They're going to weigh a half a pound heavier. It was kind of luck, I on finding the place. But I had been in there before, and it was just, like I said, one of those things. I was wanting to get as far away from that salt water as I could.
And in the first 2 days, it looked like you might run away with this thing. Brock Mosley was there with you, but not in that spot, but on the leaderboard. 15 pounds day 1, 14 pounds day 2. Those are huge bags at the Sabine. You get up there day 3, everything's flooded. And I don't think it was an exaggeration. I think they said the water had come up 6 feet. On day 4, they actually showed video of what it looked like in the same exact spot on day 2 versus what it looked like on the final day. And you could literally see graphically the difference in the water. Did you have a clue at all? Did you know that they were dumping that water, out of Rayburn or anything like that? Or was it a total shock when you got up there and saw that everything was flooded?
It was a shock. I was doing a pretty good job during practice and the first day of the event looking at the water release out of Toledo, and we hadn't had really any rain, and so I honestly didn't even look at it going into the 3rd day. And when I roll in up there, it was just, I was shocked. I had no clue, and it kind of caught me off guard, but I guess that Toledo was on the rise due to maybe some rain or them just holding the water, and they decided. I actually called after the 3rd day. I called the dam, and they said, we're just for the weekend, we're going to let it run, and that's what made the water go up. I would, I don't want to change anything because I won, but I'd really like to know what I would have caught out of that creek had it not come up. I don't know that I could have done 15 pounds a day, but I really believe that I could have caught another 12 or 13 each day if the conditions would have stayed the same. Because there was some, and I think they were coming in. That was the deal, because the first day of practice, I mean, the day that I went there and practiced, I only got one big bite. And then, the first day of the tournament, I got 5 big bites in about 30 minutes. And then the next day, the same stretch, 5 bites. So I think there was fish coming in, and I wasn't just fishing for resident fish. So, but anyway, the water come up. I squeaked it out. I really was surprised when I got back. I figured catching 8 pounds the last day, I would fall 2 or 3 places at least. And I was shocked whenever I got, whenever we weighed in and everybody struggled as much as they did, because usually, those guys that hang around that release area on the last day, they usually catch 10 or 11 pounds. But, I had decided that's where I was going, and that was the best option for me. But totally shocked that nobody else caught a big bag that last day.
Never gave it a second thought. 612 on day 3, and you were going there no matter what. That was it, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those deals where, I was kind of thinking about staying close and fishing. But if I would have stayed close, I would have been wondering the whole day, what's the water level up there? What if I go up that creek farther and get away from the high water? So I knew that if I went up there and fished, win, lose, or draw, I would know all of that stuff. I would know what happened, and I would be fishing by myself. So that's just kind of my style. I want to go do my own deal, and I'm a pretty stubborn fisherman. I mean,
yeah, you are.
That I've lost some events because of my stubbornness, but also I've won some events because of my stubbornness. So I don't see me changing anytime soon.
Yeah, and with the Classic, the 2022 Classic being back at Hartwell, more unfinished business, because you were so close there to winning that one, and so you'll have a great opportunity to go back. In our last minute, you just gotta ask you. A lot of the guys who left the Elite Series and come back, one of the things they talked about was the crowds and the difference and the thing that they missed there. Just talk about what it was like in Orange, Texas, to be able to go on there and stand on that stage and just see thousands of people at that weigh-in.
Yeah, I've never made the weekend at Sabine. The first 3 Elite Series, I just hear from other guys how big the crowd was, and it did not disappoint whatsoever. Seeing that crowd, and honestly, we probably would have had more if the virus, still wasn't lingering. But we had a giant crowd, and everybody was really, really polite and wanted us there. It didn't matter if I was 70 miles up that river getting gas or at the weigh-in. I mean, people wanted us there. People are happy that we're there. And I got a little different outlook on the place now. I mean, everybody knows the fishing's tough. Right. You can't expect fish to be dynamite in an area where there's saltwater intrusion. It's just not going to be. But, I like a tough event every now and then, and I think some of the other guys do. I know the fans like to see a tough event, and anytime you go to an area where people are just open arms, they want you there, and they, there wasn't any locals out there fishing as far as, following us, fishing the places that we were fishing. It's just they want us there. And we're going back. I mean, I would be shocked if we don't go back multiple times in the next 10 to 15 years. So, I like the place. I mean,
yeah, sure.
I really do.
Sure, you really do. Now you pulled $100,000 out of there. We appreciate you. Jason Christie has been our guest. Jason, good luck coming up at Fork, and who knows? Maybe we'll be talking again this year.
I hope so. I'd love to go back to back.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Thank you. That's Jason Christie. What a great guy and a great angler right there. All right, we'll come back and wrap it up next. This is Phonix Boats Bassmaster Radio on the Bassmaster Radio Network.